Hello and welcome to Soul GPS. What I wanted to talk to you today is how long should you dwell on the past trauma in your healing process? This is an interesting question that's been recently coming up in my practice as well as in my own life. As some of you may know, I've been struggling with some chronic pain symptoms over the last year. I'm going to be making more videos about this. But I've been able to have a remission of my symptoms, and the information I'm discovering as a result of that journey is, I think, highly applicable to a narcissistic abuse recovery. So this is something I wanted to talk to you about because a lot of the people that I work with have been in this process of recovery for quite a long time. And they usually contact me because they feel like they're stuck, they're not moving forward, and they're looking forward to make a leap in their progress. And so what's been happening is it's starting to become evident that the longer we spend in the past, where our attention travels to traumatic memories of things that have happened, and we dwell on it on a daily basis, where we're regurgitating those memories and also feeling the feelings that are associated with the traumas, the more stressed we get in our present moment, and the more difficult it may be to not only be mindful and present in the moment, but also to look forward into the future. So basically what I'm talking about here is this phenomenon of being stuck in the past. While of course the actual, sorry about the noise, lots of cars outside today, it's Sunday and it's super busy in town, but the intention here is very positive because these people want to move on and have results and have healing. But unfortunately, what tends to happen is because they go back and look at it over and over and over again, this can re-traumatize them and also make it more difficult for the feelings of, such as feelings of anxiety, dread, fear, guilt, and so on and so forth, to leave their nervous system so that they can enjoy their life. So this is what I wanted to talk to you about. And I don't think that in this recovery work you should ignore the past at all. I'm not saying that at all. But I think that we need to become strategic about where we put our attention and for how long. And I think this could be why, when people go to therapy, they can stay in therapy for 10, 12, 20 years sometimes, a long time. And I think that this was one of the reasons, is because every time we sit down on that couch and start to talk about what's going on, we revert back into the past. We go back into those memories that are highly traumatizing, and rarely do we have an emotional purging. Instead, we continue to dwell on this. And emotional purging is key. Catharsis is key to healing, hence the strategic approach that I want to suggest here. So I decided to title this video, How Long Should You Be Looking at the Past and at Your Past Traumas? Because I want to give you a rough delineation. Of course, it's all going to be up to you how much time you're going to need to process this. But I also want you to put some kind of a deadline maybe for yourself, or see how that feels to you. So for example, if you have just come out of a highly toxic relationship and you're constantly in fight or flight, you are experiencing flashbacks a lot of the time, you're unable to focus on the future. In fact, maybe you're feeling more and more anxious as a result of the memories that keep coming up, you feel unsafe, and so on and so forth. And here's what happens very often. You may start to notice that there is a tie between this relationship and how you were treated with how you were treated at home and your childhood traumas. So, and especially if you've never done any form of therapy, this is a good time to go there, look at it, experience those feelings, as most especially grieve the past. Because so many of us, myself included, have been running away from things that happened in my past because I was so busy in the present. I had so many plans, dreams, ambitions, and there was just never time to do it. So I was, in a way, running through life with blindfolds on. And then one day I woke up and I asked myself the question, why do all my relationships pretty much all resemble one another? Why do I keep meeting these toxic people that show up on my path like of this big boulder and very often set me back? And we know, as you may know, trauma regresses us. I don't think we need trauma to grow or to have a happy life. I think that's a complete misnomer. And it's the same thing with any form of suffering in life. We don't really need it to either be good or to learn a lesson. Of course, when it happens, that's the best way to approach it and ask yourself, how do I break this pattern? How do I break this cycle? Why did this happen? What can I do better next time so I don't get myself into that same position again? Of course, this is the best way we can deal with it. But I don't think that going out there and seeking out problems, troubles, and conflicts is to our health. Life is hard as it is, and the smoother it is, the nicer it is, right? And especially when you end up getting things that you want, it makes you happy. It's when we get upset and angry, especially angry, is when things don't go our way. You know, when reality shows up differently than we had expected. So anyway, so with all of this, lots of complexity, life changes minute to minute, day to day, it's full of fluctuations. We don't need traumas. We don't need them. They only complicate things. They regress us back into childhood, which is why we usually do inner child work. Now, all of this is very important. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do this. I think you should. I think you should look at the whole map of your life and get a great understanding of who you are, why you are the way you are, but do it strategically. Don't spend years here. You want to get a forward movement dynamic. You want to get yourself thinking about the future. You want to enjoy your present. You want to free yourself, right? The whole point of this is to free yourself from the baggage of the past so you can fly through your life and tread lightly and have a lot of fun and great experiences. To go from feeling a lot of pain to then entraining your nervous system into feeling pleasure, something I talk about in my Unchained program that I have on my website. So we need to make that pivot, that shift, and I think that a lot of it deals with where we put our attention. I think it's a majority of the results we get in life is due to what we're thinking, what kind of thoughts we are cultivating inside. So that's why meditation is great, because it gives you that break in thinking. It teaches you to break a train of thought that may lead you into a labyrinth. It's a skill that allows you to just say, cut, and then take a breath, and recalibrate, reorganize, and then focus on something else. So all of these tools, there's so many fantastic tools that you can use. So I would give yourself no more than a year. Again, depending on the severity of what you've been through and the degree to which you feel like you've already revisited the past, you don't need to spend a lot of time there. You really don't, because it only is going to prolong you feeling isolated, right? Because as you're working through the past, it may make you want to isolate yourself and not spend time with certain people in your life, because they may have hurt you in the past. And I'm all for boundaries. You know this because I've made so many videos on boundaries. They're so important. Identifying toxic people, toxic family members in your life. Some people you need to go no contact with because they're that toxic. Some people you may go low contact with. Some people you may just interact with superficially because you know you're not going to get the depth of interaction with those people, and you don't want to set yourself up for disappointment. So we got to get real about people in our life and decide, to which degree do we want to get involved. But again, if we're going to be spending years looking at our past and looking at everything that ever happened to us and all the things that people did to us and putting our attention on that, the next time we're going to see that person, we're going to remember all these things. We're going to get triggered, And then we're going to have an emotional reaction and may want to actually hide and isolate because we will be experiencing anxiety and severe discomfort. So the message I want to give you in this video is, if you're in the midst of doing this work, that's great. Keep going, keep doing it, but also create like this detached observer inside your mind that is watching your progress and is gauging also your emotional state. Because if you're doing this work and it's only feeding your anxiety and feeding your discomfort and making the trauma even bigger, then you may want to do a little bit less, right? It's going to be up to you what you want to do. It's up to every individual. Everyone has a little bit of a different need for this. So you're going to have to decide what's right for you. Now, if it is something that you have done already, you know, I'm a little distracted by the sirens. I'm wondering if they're going to come by my window, in which case to stop, or I think they're going away at this point, so I'll continue. So if you've already done it, if say a few years ago, you know, you went through a traumatic marriage and you worked with a therapist or with a coach on your past and you've already been there, when you're going through a new cycle because you just met another narcissist or another, you know, pathological personality, and these emotions resurfaced in you, then you may want to again be strategic and spend a little bit less time on going back into the past. If it's coming up in your memory a lot and if it's haunting you, then by all means don't run away from it. Look at it, write about it, journal about it. That's very, very great tool. It's cheap too, it's free virtually. It only costs you your time, you know, spending 20 minutes or so every morning journaling about those things, feeling the feelings that arise, allowing your mind to process them, making your brain feel that it is safe to feel these emotions so you don't get panic triggers or anxiety triggers and so on and so forth. But then you want to move on, focus on the present, and ideally look into the future, right? Think about the things you want to do in your life, you've always wanted to do. Now that this person isn't in your life anymore, you have so much more space. And I know that for the first couple of months or so after breakup, you may feel this vacancy, this emptiness, and feel like you don't like it. You actually want this person back. That's all due to addiction. You know, our bodies generate chemicals that are just as if we were putting a drug, you know, just shooting up heroin or something inside in our veins. And so when you get off of it, you're going to go through withdrawal symptoms. It's something to absolutely expect. But after a while, I just talked to actually one of my clients. We've worked together for about 2.5 months. And the first time she and I talked, she couldn't say a word without crying. The entire hour she was crying in hysterics. Second session we had, about 2 weeks later, she was better, but she still had crying episodes. Now, I think that's really good. I want my clients to be 100% honest with me and experience emotions while we're on the call, while they're safe, while I'm there with them, holding their hand in a way. But when we had our third call just a few days ago, she was so happy. She was full of joy. She was looking forward into her future. Said, I have so much space now in my life that this person isn't in it. He was taking up 60% of my time, she said. And then, you know, I spent 30% or more of my time on my job and on taking care of my daughter. And then what did that leave for me? Like 20%, sometimes less. And she's like, that's not okay. I was so proud of her that she came to this realization, you know, that wasn't okay. So now she gets to spend 80% of her time on herself, or 70% or whatever, and 30% on other things. So she is now full of ideas. She wants to do painting and explore this, explore that. She's just super excited. So, and her attention is on the future. So that's what I would like for you to do. Give yourself time. Maybe even put a deadline in a calendar and say, I give myself 2 months or 6 months or a year or whatever, depending again on how deeply hurt you've been. And then start to put your attention towards the future. I mean, we can't change our past. What happened, happened. We can only change our relationship to it. That's why in therapy, such as EMDR, you know, one of the things that they do is they help you reframe the traumatic experience into feeling like I survived, I made it, I am so strong, oh my God, I really kicked butt in this relationship, because even though he almost brought me down, or she, of course, happens to both genders, brought me down to my knees and broke me, I still made it. And look at me now, I've actually created this whole new life. Sure, I may not feel happy every day right now because there's all of these clouds and shadows that are still present, but I did it. And now what do I want to do with all this space that's opening up? How do I want to direct my attention into the future? So yes, I want to emphasize this, because again, the longer you stay in that state, the more your nervous system, and this is no joke, and that there's a link to chronic pain here that I'm going to be talking about soon, but your nervous system is going to get used to you feeling pain and guilt and fear and rage that's being suppressed because it's unsafe to experience it. Take it a chunk, like a day at a time. It's kind of like, you know, going grocery shopping for an entire month, right? And you have your pantry and your refrigerator filled up with food. You're not going to eat it all in one day. You're going to take it a little bit at a time. So you can think about it in terms of, okay, your emotions, your memories, your flashbacks, everything. It's like these items that are filling up your space. You're not going to look at them and process them all at the same time. Just spend 20 minutes every day, have a designated time. When you process this, you allow yourself to cry, you allow yourself to feel it, you take yourself on a walk maybe, and then move your attention towards things that feel good to you. Train your nervous system to feel pleasure and peace. So I'm going to leave you with that for now. I look forward to your comments, to your experiences, perhaps you'd like to share with us here. Thank you so much for your attention, for your support, for spreading the message, for all your likes. That helps to grow this channel, which I am pivoting more towards self-healing, empowerment, towards talking about chronic pain and how to cure yourself from it, and so on and so forth. So hopefully this was helpful. I'm sending you lots of love, and I look forward to catching up with you later. Bye-bye.